Hey guys, welcome back to the dairy. I wanted to go ahead and get this video out to you. Just a short little video, but hopefully it'll be informational and informative to you. So a lot of questions as far as what makes me so what helps me, and I talk a lot about routines and finding your routine and all that stuff as far as helping get your groove going, and from start milking all the way till when the cleaning's done, and even further than that, bottling the milk and all that good stuff. Well, this right here is my ROMP manual as far as my risk assessment and management plan, which obviously is kind of a check for me to go ahead and keep me in check as far as making sure that I'm doing what I need to do day in and day out, from start to finish, as far as before I start milking, when I'm getting the girls in, and all that good stuff. Now this was something that I have been working on for a while. Obviously you add to it, you do whatever you need to do to make sure it helps you and keep you in check. And if you got employees or anything like that, it's kind of like one of those employee handbooks. I'm sure we're all familiar with those. But yeah, so this is kind of like your book of standard, your daily standard operating procedures and how things need to get done, and just making sure they get done. They're there for a reason, and you need to make sure to follow them. I mean, that's how you get a rhythm going. That's when you sit down. Like I said, I didn't jump into this doing raw milk. Just jump into it. You want to have a plan, and you got to have a plan of attack. And what I mean by that is, just a quick side note. I wanted to go ahead and I got one of my milk test results back here. I don't know if you can see it, but my standard plate count over here, we're at 3 CFUs per milliliter of milk, and my coliform count is at 1.7 CFUs per milliliter of milk, which is outstanding numbers. They're great numbers. Them numbers are the numbers we need to see, and that's what you want in this low risk raw milk. And this book is part of that success as far as getting those low numbers. It keeps me, like I said, it keeps me in check. It's a check for myself because I have no employees, but it's still good to have a guide like this. And so I kind of want to just kind of bring you through and kind of explain and show you why it's so great, and why it's such a big help as far as getting that low risk raw milk, whether you're a raw milk dairy or you're just you ship milk, and just whatever. This is a good thing to have, which most milkers, most dairies, if not all, probably have them. So yeah, so like I said, it doesn't have to be nothing fancy, but obviously here I got my logo on here, and in a nice binder. You want something you can keep organized. And so the first part here, I got my main thing. Everything we owe to others. Had to give a shout out to that. And then of course, so you just come through here, your table of contents here. You got your purpose and your commitment. Because you want to have a purpose. Why are you doing this? And you want to have a commitment. Why you're committed to this. And farm information and emergency contacts. This is all stuff like I think ahead on, but as of right now, I don't have employees, so some of this stuff doesn't apply to me. I hope you guys can see this. I'm trying to get as close as I can, but this little camera sometimes is funny, and I know things are written down really small. But then we have risk assessment summary, daily opening checklist, as far as I start that morning milking, what am I doing? And then of course animal health, standard operating procedures, milking, standard operating procedures or SOP, milk filtering, cooling and storage, bottling and batch labeling, cleaning and sanitizing SOPs, milk room and bottling room hygiene, water quality programs. We want to make sure that your water's clean, because if you don't have clean water, then you're really not cleaning at all. I mean, You're just getting more bacteria and stuff spread around. Milk testing and quality control, which is part of, I just showed you the test there. Equipment and preventative maintenance. Here's one that a lot of people might not have, and of course, like I said, this is just mine. Just keep in mind that this is for me and my farm, what works for me. And then here, line item number 14. This is where some of you guys might not have, because I don't have full power in my barn. I have to have a big diesel generator, which you guys all know if you've watched my previous videos. So I have a generator and power outage plan, because I do run off generators. So I had to make sure that's another additive to my maintenance and making sure everything stays up. So that way, I have continuous power so I can keep on milking day in and day out. Emergency action plans, milk hold and recall plan, employee training and hygiene, visitor biosecurity policies, corrective action program, verification and annual reviews, printable logs and forms. So then we screw on, we keep flipping through, and of course we get into the purpose and commitment. Just a little, this establishes, my dairy procedures for producing clean, high-quality milk through responsible animal care, clean equipment, controlled handling, accurate records, and corrective action when something is not right. This manual is intended for internal farm use and should be reviewed with your veterinarian, milk testing lab, and any applicable state and local requirements before relying on it as a regulatory document. Now, obviously some of these are records that you guys want to keep. They're good for your vet if something happens with one of the animals, anything like that. It's good to be in touch with everybody that you deal with. Your laboratory, if you don't test in-house, your veterinarian, any of this stuff can be useful for a number of people. If something happens, you just want to make sure that you keep documents of it. Now, these ones are emptied, but then I do keep printable ones. This is just kind of like a reference, and then I go ahead and print these out extra, and I can fill these out. But this one I don't have filled out, just because, again, I don't have any employees or anything, so some of this stuff right now is not applicable. So it might not be filled out right now. Plus, some of this stuff I've actually just recently updated, so some of it has changed, which is a good thing about it. You guys can go through here if you think of something in your routine, in your daily whatever, you're like, oh, that could help, and this is where it needs to go. You write it in here, you make it part of your daily standard, and then this is all about setting your bar, your daily standard bar, as far as creating excellent low risk raw milk and just harvesting that milk, period. You want to set that bar, and anything that you can add to it to make sure it gets done, that's awesome. Put it in there. And then as you flip on through, you got the daily opening checklist. Now, one thing I didn't say before, just because it comes naturally to me, but when I bring the girls in, obviously Tootsie right now, because she is my only cow, and then of course Minnie, she's going to be freshening in real soon. But I'm always looking at the whole herd anyways, but you want to observe before milking, because if she is sore or if she's showing signs of not being healthy, not her usual self, then I'm going to check her out. I'm not going to go ahead and bring her in the barn knowing that she could be in pain or something's not right. I'm not going to bring her in here, milk her, put that milk in the bulk tank, and expect to bottle it and ship it out when I know something's wrong. I'm not going to make her go through any more without making sure if I need to get her some medication, anything like that. And of course that would go back with the holding of milk. So if I do need to get her on any kind of medication or something and I need to hold that milk, then that's what I'm going to do, because the health of her comes before worrying about I harvest that milk. So, but yeah, and then of course, then you want to just inspect everything. Now, even though at the end of the day, I make sure everything is clean and orderly, But then the next morning I want to make sure, just kind of take a quick sweep through, just make sure everything's good to go. And then these are just some of the things that you just want to go through, confirm the bulk tank cooler is working. I have a camera on my bulk tank just so if I'm out in the field, or sometimes anytime wherever I'm at, I can go ahead and pull that up and make sure that my bulk tank is still on and that thing is still cooling, because I mean that is one of the most vital parts of this whole operation, is making sure that milk is cold. And we need to keep it at 40 degrees below, between that 38 and 40 degrees. It gets down to even 36, but I need to make sure that bulk tank is constantly cooling when there's milk in there. So whatever we need to do to make sure that happens, that's what we need to do. We need to prepare sanitizer as needed, review and treated, review any treated cows, make sure that we don't need any milk holds, and then of course you start your daily records. And then of course the daily closing,